7 games into this college football season, I have watched every elite, so-called elite, top-notch quarterback play except for one. And I watched him do his thing in an SEC matchup in Columbia, South Carolina this past Saturday. This is QB Unfiltered, my take. Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson is pretty damn good.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up.
Okay, Simpson is one of these guys who wasn't on everybody's elite, hyped, can't miss list to start the season. Sort of flew under the radar. We've talked about a handful of those guys so far this year, and a couple of them have really stepped up their game and stepped out of the shadows. So who is Ty Simpson? Well, he's a guy who didn't jump in the transfer portal, even though he was staring down the backside of Seattle Seahawks quarterback Jalen Milroe for 2 seasons. He stayed in Tuscaloosa and got better, competed, and waited his turn. He was also a guy that coming into this season was untested and unproven. And you know, guys, I feel like I'm on a loop this last month talking about college football quarterbacks, in that you had this list of guys coming into the season who everybody thought were going to be the top dudes in college football, that one by one have either played themselves out of that category or just been wildly inconsistent from week to week. And then you've got these guys that have built this steady resume throughout the first 7 games. And I think Ty Simpson is one of those guys. So I was really fired up this past weekend to watch Ty Simpson and Alabama bebop into Columbia, South Carolina to take on a, I think, dangerous South Carolina team with a really scary quarterback in Lenora Sellers. Okay, now I say this on every video, but guys, this really helps me out, really helps the channel out. Hit the like button, okay? Hit that like button, share this video out, comment, and subscribe to the channel. QB Unfiltered. I greatly appreciate the support. Ty Simpson, 6'2", 210-pound redshirt junior out of the state of Tennessee. Played his high school ball at Martin High School in Tennessee, and he signed with Alabama right out of high school. And in 2022, his true freshman year, he redshirted. The next 2 seasons, 23 and 24, he backed up, competed, and learned from Jalen Milroe. And this makes Simpson a rarity in college football, staying with one program, getting better, and developing. How many quarterbacks in his shoes that are playing on the same football team as Jalen Milroe and are going to see 2 years of sitting behind Milroe? How many guys like that are going to stay in that program and develop and compete and get better and wait their turn? All right, so going into this South Carolina game, Simpson had thrown for 1,931 yards, 18 touchdown passes, and only 1 pick. He's also hitting on about 70% of his throws. And, you know, those are the kind of numbers that have the pundits and the gurus out there talking about Heisman Trophy, talking about a potential first pick in the draft. You know how that stuff goes. So I started to check Simpson out, you know, at the beginning of the season, and I've kind of followed him throughout this year. And I'm going to give you my general thoughts on his game, and then we're going to dive into the South Carolina game. I watched the entire game on Saturday. I'm going to give you my analysis and reaction to his performance against the Gamecocks. Okay, so the first thing that jumps out at me about Ty Simpson is his feet. And with quarterbacks, it doesn't matter what level you're talking about. With quarterbacks, it starts and ends with your feet. Simpson has got quick, rhythmic, light feet, which, you know, I'm talking about his drop now, dropping in the pocket, setting up to throw. His feet are quick and light and rhythmic, and that helps him not only get the ball out of his hand on time, but it helps his accuracy, and he is an accurate quarterback. So whether he's taking a 3-step, a 3-and-hitch, a 5-step, he slides right or left, he's forced to climb the pocket, he rolls, sets his feet and throws, or throws the ball on the move, getting his feet under his shoulders before he throws it. His feet allow him to deliver the ball the way he wants to deliver it, on balance and with accuracy. The deep ball. He throws the deep ball the way I think quarterbacks should. We're talking about outside verticals or post routes, and that's put air underneath the ball, right? Put a lot of air underneath it. That way you give your receiver a chance to make a play. You don't have to be 100% accurate like quarterbacks that throw those balls flatter. And in the South Carolina game that we're going to talk about, he threw a handful of verticals and a post in this game that he put a beautiful air under those throws. Now, he overthrew about 3 of those and he underthrew one of them, but the type of throws he was making, perfect. Okay, we talked about his accuracy, and, I said that he is accurate, hitting on 70% of his throws. When you look at the South Carolina game, his completion percentage was like 55.8, but he uncharacteristically missed on some throws. We just talked about those deep balls. He missed a couple of quick game routes, and then his receivers dropped a handful of slants and quick game throws, but he's an accurate guy. He puts the ball where it needs to be. And with that accuracy comes touch passes. Okay, so I'm sure that you've all watched quarterbacks. In fact, Lenore Sellers does this, where almost every type of pass he throws has the same speed and pace on the throw. And as a quarterback, you've got to be able to change up when you drive the ball with a lot of gas on it and when you take something off the throw and touch it in there. And he's able to do that depending on the circumstances behind the throw. All right, Simpson's athletic. He's fairly quick and fast when he needs to be. And of course, this comes into play when he's trying to escape pocket on pass plays. And when he's out there running, he can hurt defenses and make yards. Like I said, he's got quick feet and he's pretty fast. And then his demeanor, I talk about this with all the quarterbacks. And this is one thing that I'm in tuned with QBs on, because I think it makes such a big difference in not only their play, but the effect that it has on their offensive teammates and even their entire teammates. Simpson is a guy that strikes me as being a really positive, upbeat guy, right? He's always bouncing around with a smile on his face, but he's not soft. And when it becomes nut cutting time, he's dialed in and focused. What I like about him, and particularly in this South Carolina game, was, for 3 quarters and a little change, Alabama wasn't exactly rolling offensively. You never saw him in the tank. You never saw him with his head down, his eyes down. He just kept grinding and kept going. And at the end of the game, when they needed him to step up and make plays, he was there and brought his teammates along with him. We're going to talk about this as we go with the South Carolina game, but there were 2 times in the fourth quarter where the notepad that I'm using to, take notes as I watch the game, there were 2 times in the fourth quarter I wrote down, how are you going to respond, Simpson? And I just think that even keel and that positive outlook that he has, that he exudes, I think that came into play in that fourth quarter when Alabama needed 8 points to tie the game, and that's exactly what they did. Okay, let's jump into Ty Simpson's game against South Carolina. First off, this game was a trap game. Okay. I'm sure you've all heard that term before. Trap games are one of the things that keep coaches up at night, head coaches. Okay. Trap games are constantly on the minds of head coaches and how to keep their football team up for a game that is potentially that. And what happens with a trap game is, and I'm going to use that Alabama as an example, they went through a 3 or 4 game stretch where they were playing ranked good football teams. And you get through that stretch of being successful and you've got everybody on campus and on social media and everybody in your universe that's patting you on the back, telling you how great you are. And here is Kalen DeBoer looking at this game at South Carolina going, oh, shit. You know, we're going in to play a team with a losing record, and our guys are feeling pretty good about themselves after this 3 or 4 game run, and everybody's telling us how great we are. We have got to stay on top of our game and stay focused and go in there and take care of business. So this was a trap game, right? And I think that there were a few things that came into play to make this game a game that went down to the wire and a game that was close the entire way. I think there were like 4 variables that made this game this way. First of all, trap game, we just talked about. Secondly, going in and playing in a notoriously tough place to play. Third, you got Lenora Sellers. That guy, as I said, he's a scary, scary guy to defend for any defensive coordinator in defense. I'm going to talk about Lenora Sellers a little bit at the end of this video. And then fourth is, you know, South Carolina's got some dudes, and they got some dudes on that defensive line, right? That Tate guy, that dude is a missile out there. He's a handful. And those 4 defensive linemen for the Gamecocks caused problems for Alabama's offense all day long. So those 4 ingredients right there made this a challenge for the Crimson Tide. Okay, and like I said, for, 3 quarters and some change, this was an ugly game offensively. Now, Alabama got their passing game cranked up a little bit in the second quarter. That first quarter for them was like a typo. If anybody was looking at that online running stats, I mean, at the end of the first quarter, Simpson was 1 for 3 for 6 yards, and Alabama's offense ran 6 plays for 11 yards and had 0 first downs. That's amazing. Okay, let's look at some clips of this game. And here's a heads up, guys. I talked about this last week when I did USC and Notre Dame. The major networks now have come up with a way to block content creators and YouTubers that are pulling clips off of these televised games to use for example, my show. And so I'm kind of at the mercy of using these other people's clips. And there's a whole lot of plays that I'm not going to be able to show you simply because I don't have film of it. So hopefully I'll be able to talk you through this and we can get a handle on what we're explaining. I can paint a picture for you, but just know that going in. All right, let's start with this. Second quarter, believe me, there were no highlights or anything to talk about with Ty Simpson in the first quarter. So we're going to start this thing off with the second quarter. All right, next clip. This is Ty Simpson's best throw of the game. Second quarter, it's 1st and 10. Alabama is running a shallow cross from their tight end going from left to right. Okay. And they've got a 3 receiver set on the right. The number 3 receiver to the trip side is running a deep dig route now, and he's going to end up on the left side of the field. Now, the number 2 receiver, okay, they motion to trips here. What is the number 2 receiver when they snap the ball? He's running like a second level sit down. And here comes the shallow cross. So what you've got is that sit down and the shallow cross. The sit down is the high. The shallow cross is the low. For Simpson, that's a high-low read on who he's going to go to. Now, you can barely see number 2 start to sit down and grass there. I think he was open. Of course, I can't see the entire thing. And obviously, I'm not in Ty Simpson's shoes and I can't see what he sees. But when I watch this happen in real time, I'm thinking to myself, wow, he didn't need to leave the pocket on this. I think he could have just delivered the ball to the number 2 receiver. But that's not what he did. And so he feels like he's forced out now to the left, and he starts to roll to his left. And this is why this is Simpson's best throw. Most quarterbacks, when they're throwing this to the number 3 guy now running this deep dig all the way across the field, which basically this turns into an out route on that sideline, right? Most quarterbacks, when they throw this on the move, rolling, are going to continue on the roll. And then as a right-handed quarterback, Try to get those shoulders cranked around and deliver that throw on the move. Okay. You see quarterbacks throw that every day. Those are not exceedingly hard passes to throw, but you're a lot more accurate as a QB when you throw that from a stationary position. And I want you to watch what Simpson does here with his feet. So as he's rolling here, he does this real fast, but he machine guns his feet, right? Pat, 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 and he pats down to stop his momentum of his roll. And while he doesn't come to an exact complete stop, he stops his momentum so that he can get his shoulders cranked around and basically throw this stationary. And he puts a absolute dime on his receiver right on the sideline. This is Simpson's best throw. Okay, now we move to Ty Simpson's second best throw of the game. Now, it's the second quarter, it's 1st and 10, and this one's a crazy defensive look. Again, Alabama's in a tight formation, and this time South Carolina runs a double cornerback blitz, bringing both corners off the edge. Okay, why is this Simpson's second best throw? Well, first of all, he keeps his poise, right? He knows they're bringing pressure. He keeps his poise, chops his feet down. You'll see him hitch twice up into the pocket. 2 hitch steps up, and he's throwing this dig route now, coming right into his line of sight, right over the ball, and he throws a seed, and his receiver makes a really nice catch here. And again, what makes this such a great throw for me is, and I don't have this with the damn end zone shot. If you could see the replay of this from behind Simpson, it shows this much clearer than what I'm going to try to explain it from the press box shot. But the reason why Ty Simpson takes 2 hitch steps up into the pocket is when he takes the first one, that receiver is behind the inside linebacker and Simpson can't see him. So he takes that second step to time it out, and the shot from the end zone from behind Simpson, you'll see that the anticipation of the throw, that ball's coming out of his hand and that receiver is still behind the inside linebacker, but he's just starting to emerge as that ball now has totally left Simpson's hand. Great job with feet, great job with poise versus a double-barreled corner blitz, right? Great job with anticipation, and he throws a rope that Alabama's receiver makes a great catch on. Okay, this is the example now, one of the examples of Simpson throwing the ball with touch. This is such a smart throw. It's second quarter, 3rd and 7, and Ty Simpson is flushed to his right. South Carolina's bringing 5-man pressure. Now, I'm not going to get into this real complex, but the 2 defenders for South Carolina on the right side screw this thing up. So the back runs by him and he's running by himself down the sideline. Okay. Long story short, all Simpson does on this play is he's rolling and he sees that back running by himself is just lobs a nice, soft, little easy spiral for that back to make the catch on and go. Again, a smart play. And you know, it sounds pretty simple, me discussing this and explaining throwing the ball soft, but you wouldn't believe how many quarterbacks botch this throw up by throwing it too hard and too flat. And with running backs, those guys are playing running back for a reason, right? They're not the best receivers on the team with the best hands. So anytime you're throwing the ball to a back, in most cases, you really got to make it an easy catch for that running back. And Simpson does that on this. Okay, we stay in the second quarter now. This is 4th and goal from the 3, and Bama goes for it. What they do here is they're running Y corner to the left. So they've got 3 receivers to the left, single receiver to the right, to the 3 receiver side where you got a stick route, you've got some sort of a flat route, and then the number 3 receivers running the corner route. Now, Alabama and Ty Simpson and Ryan Grubb are anticipating South Carolina being in a form of man-to-man here. And that corner route is a man beater. South Carolina lines up and plays cover 2 zone. Now, Simpson can still put this corner route in there for a touchdown, but the safety before the ball snap takes this play away from Simpson based on his alignment. The safety lines up outside of that corner route and stays outside on the snap of the ball. And so when the corner runs his corner stem breaks to the corner, that guy's going to be sitting there waiting for him. Okay. Now I'm a little disappointed that Alabama's receiver running that corner route basically said, screw it. The guy's taking the play away, so I'm just going to half-ass the route. But what I love about what Simpson does here is he sees that pre-snap, and then he keys it, and he looks at that safety just to confirm on the snap of the ball, and then just keeps his poise, very calmly snaps his eyes to the backside where we've got this single receiver running this little dig route coming in. And because they're playing zone, you got that parting of the Red Sea in the box and all that grass, and it's easy pitch and catch. This is QB 101 here. Great execution by Ty Simpson. Okay, now we get to the good part of the game, the interesting part of the game. And, from the second quarter, maybe from the end of the first quarter on, I wrote down in my notes and went back and started a couple times. Quick game and screens. Quick game and screens. Any time that you are sputtering in your passing game, whether it's your quarterback, it's your receivers, or it's your offensive line and protection, quick game and screens. Okay? We're talking completions. We're talking rhythm. We're talking confidence. We're talking move the ball. So Lenore Sellers scores to put South Carolina up 22-14. And Ryan Grubb on the next series starts to do exactly that. So we're talking about a drive here. And again, this is, big time players make big time plays in big time games, and big time quarterbacks step up when their team needs them to. So this is a 14-play, 79-yard drive. Alabama needs 8 to tie it. Okay. And now in this drive, it wasn't anything spectacular in the passing game or the running game. It was just a bunch of 5, 6, 7-yard completions and runs, right? And they're throwing quick game. They're throwing screens. Now, yeah, they're dropping some quick game, but they're running enough to complete some. They're completing screens, right? And they're in a rhythm, and Simpson's in a rhythm, and offensively, they're in a groove. So we get down now to second and goal from the 4-yard line, and South Carolina rolls the dice here. They're playing man-to-man, and they're bringing guys, but they don't have anybody locked up on the running back. Okay, they're rolling the dice. Alabama's got the perfect call on here. This is like a hybrid hot, naked slip screen to the running back. But they take the receivers to the left, the 3 receivers, and basically clear out all South Carolina's defensive guys and then release that back. And Ty Simpson does a great job throwing this ball off his back foot, falling away. That's exactly how you teach your quarterback to throw these versus all-out pressure, and puts the ball on the back right in stride. Easy touchdown, okay? Now they got to go for the 2-point play. And guys, at the end of the day, all the eye candy and the trickery and all that, this is just your basic quarterback roll to the right with a high-low stretch, right? That's all this is, but this is a slick way to do this. So Simpson shifts from the gun over to an over alignment like where the back would normally be, and you've got the running back in the regular quarterback position in the gun. They snap the ball to the running back, who hands it to Simpson. They're bringing a receiver around from right to left. Simpson fakes the reverse. And what they've got going with the receivers now, the outside receiver to the right is running to the back of the end zone. He just pivots and is looking for grass. He's the high guy. The tight end is faking like he's pinning inside backer or a safety. And now he releases on like a shoot route to the flat. He's the low guy. And here's Ty Simpson rolling to his right with a high-low. Okay. And that high guy basically is the outlet check down guy. So he's going to the tight end on this the entire way. And this looks like an easy pass, but shit, man, you're throwing a 2-point play here to tie the game in a big SEC game. And Ty Simpson, with this nice, easy little throw, throws an absolute dime right in stride. Great throw, great play, great execution. Then we move to the next series. Sellers gets ripped, the ball ripped. He fumbles. Alabama recovers. And then that sets us up for the last touchdown of the game, the game winner. Now, there was a lot of talk. So I don't know what happened. Here's the whole thing with this. Okay. At the end of the day, you go out and score a damn touchdown. You're not worried about dropping down and letting the clock run and they've got no timeouts. No, you got an opportunity to score a touchdown. You score the touchdown, kick the extra point, and then play defense. So Alabama did what they needed to do. All right. So in this game, Ty Simpson was 24 out of 43. Like we said, 55.8% completion percentage. He missed some throws and had a bunch of drops. He threw 2 touchdown passes, 0 picks. Lenora Sellers for South Carolina was 18 for 32, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He also ran for 67 yards and a touchdown. Okay, now I'm going to end this with some observations about South Carolina and Lenora Sellers. First of all, Sellers is a scary dude, man. That guy is hard to defend. He's a 240-pound quarterback that can move, and he's strong. Now, Alabama came in and played what I thought was a real smart scheme defensively, although I would have executed the pass rush different. So they came in and they played 4-2 or Eagle 2. That's a 4-man front. It's a 6-man box. They played a 6-man box, cover 3. I would say that Alabama was in cover 3 about 90% or more of the defensive snaps in this game. Okay, more on cover 3 here in a second. Now, with the 6-man box, you're doing that to help in the run game, and particularly in the run game with Sellers. Here's what I would have done differently. Every time that he dropped back to pass, I would have had my defensive lineman slow rush, slow play it. Basically throw a net around Sellers and keep him in the pocket. Keep him in the pocket and make him beat you by executing the passing game consistently. But Alabama, their D linemen are blowing up field and creating fast, big lanes for Sellers to duck up in. And now when he's out of the pocket, he is really dangerous. Okay. Run or throw, but usually, running the ball, he's going to hurt you. All right. The cover 3. Now, you've heard me say this before in other shows. Cover 3 is the absolute worst coverage to play against a team that is really proficient in throwing the football. Cover 3 is the absolute worst. There are so many holes and gaps in cover 3. In fact, I did a game earlier this year, Indiana against Iowa. Iowa can't throw the ball to save their ass, right? They're going to pound it on the ground and they're going to beat you up defensively. And that's how they win games. Indiana went into that game and played a ton of cover 3 and made Iowa's quarterback look like the second coming of Tom Brady, just throwing little curls and hooks, right? The whole game. And you can do that the whole game. And here's Alabama sitting in cover 3. And the other thing about that, the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, he used to be the head guy at South Carolina. He was at the game Saturday. I could just imagine what was going through his head standing on the sideline watching Alabama sit in cover 3. He was probably thinking to himself, man, my dudes, when I coach, we would have thrown for 450 or 500 yards against this. Man, he would have. Okay. But here's the point I want to make on this. In the first drive of the game, Mike Shula, the OC for South Carolina, rolled Sellers to his left, and they had a 2-receiver set to the left. They ran a flat curl concept. So the outside receiver ran the curl, and the slot receiver ran the flat route. Well, against cover 3, the slot defender to that side is responsible for both of those zones. He's responsible to drop back and take the curl. He's also responsible for the flat. And so on this play where Sellers rolls, the slot receiver running the flat route, slot defender runs with the flat. There's the curl route. Sellers flicks it to him. Easy pitch and catch, first down. We probably saw them throw that route maybe 1 or 2 times the rest of the game. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit about Lenora Sellers not pulling the trigger here in a second. But again, the point I want to make versus cover 3. And there are tons of cover 3 beaters. Flat curl. How about just hitches? Hitches. No hitches in this game. There were snaps where those cornerbacks are 10 to 12 yards off and bailing back to the deep third. And again, this is all on Shula. And I don't get that. So you're going to face a team that's going to sit in cover 3, run routes and concepts that dismantle cover 3. I didn't see a whole lot of cover 3 beaters in this game. I don't think Shula helped Sellers out. Okay, so even though Ty Simpson didn't have the wow stat line in this game, he showed me a lot about what he has skill level wise and what he's got right here. So again, when the chips were down and when they needed him to step up and take them on a drive and they needed 8 points, he got them the 8 points. He's pretty damn good. All right, guys, let me know how I did. Did I get it right or did I get it wrong? This is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.